Fox hosts Greg Gutfeld and Juan Williams went at it over the protests and riots. My favorite part of this is Greg's obviously fake yelling. Like, he's fake working himself up and, like, pretending to get angry, but it's comes across as so disingenuous. It doesn't seem like a guy who's actually, in the moment and really heated about it. And it just comes across as obviously insincere to me. So let's see what they have to say, and then we'll discuss.
I have more in common with black winners than white losers. And that's the truth of all human beings. What ties us together is achievement and not grievance. So white winners and black winners are on the same side, and stay away from the white losers because they are poisoning the minds of everybody. That will end racism if all the winners of every race and color join together and laugh at the losers.
Yeah, I like that idea. Juan Williams, we talked about it yesterday. BET founder saying that a lot of black Americans just laugh at these, as Greg would say, pasty white losers tearing down statues and canceling TV shows because they think, that doesn't mean much.
Well, I'm here to defend my white brothers. This is really wild. Look, I think what's going on here is President Trump is desperate. His poll numbers have cratered. And when he was asked last night on Sean Hannity's town hall meeting, what's coming next? What's your message? What's your agenda? He really didn't have much to say. He says he's experienced, he's great, everything will be great. So what he does, Jesse, is he takes a few instances of looting or bad behavior and he blows it up. Suddenly, cities are war zones. Afghanistan. Suddenly, these people are terrorists. They're so powerful. They're threatening our social fabric. I mean, the reality is that his messaging
I think if you lived in Minneapolis, Minnesota, you'd probably agree that it did look like a war zone because everything's on fire and it cost $1 billion in damage.
Now, look, you can keep showing the same footage again and again and again. But let me just say,
it's real.
Don't trust me on this. Don't trust me. Listen to the Wall Street Journal. In their lead editorial this morning, they said Trump is headed for a historic loss as millions of Americans are close to saying that they can't risk 4 more years of this. They can't stand it. They're talking about suburbanites. They're talking about women. They're even talking about seniors abandoning Trump. And I think that's why he's engaged in this kind of horrible imagery and language, because he doesn't have a message.
He's not killing people in Chicago. He's not looting, Juan. These things are actually real. They're not fantasies. True, he could do a better job. He could do a better job facing these problems. We agree with that. But you can't lay those problems on him as somehow he's conjuring this stuff up in order to win an election. This stuff is real. People are suffering, Juan. They're suffering in Chicago. They're suffering in Minneapolis. They're suffering in New York. They're suffering in Atlanta. They're suffering in Dallas. They're suffering in California. And you go, isolated incidents? Wake up, Juan. You got to wake up to this and start helping your party face the truth.
Oh, pipe down, you little weasel. See what I mean? That really looked very fake to me. Like, it seemed like he was trying to okay, now's the part where I'm going to yell. Yelling right now. Yelling. So here's why this is absurd. He's acting like, oh, Juan Williams, you're just downplaying the looting, and the looting is such a bad problem. Oh my God, Juan, this isn't fake, this is real. People are feeling the pain. Okay, how much looting and rioting has there been? That's a serious question. What's the ratio of peaceful protest to looting and rioting? Because it is true, they keep playing the video from that first night where there was looting and rioting. How many nights did it go on? Serious question. Well, 2, 3, maybe? Where it was looting and rioting. Everything I've seen since has been pretty much peaceful protesting. So 2 or 3 nights of looting and rioting in the wake of a black man getting killed by a police officer. They're still talking about the looting and rioting. And Greg Gutfeld is going all in on we need our president of law and order to do something. This is a real problem that you're not paying attention to. Here's why this all rings hollow, and here's why Trump is down in the polls. Did he have a similar rant about how the pain, people are feeling the pain, talking about the pandemic and the depression that we're in? No, if anything, he downplayed that stuff. He downplayed the pandemic. He downplayed the depression. Trump is downplaying the pandemic. Trump is downplaying the depression. At a certain point, Trump's strategy for the pandemic was, let's pretend like it doesn't exist and go back to normal. Really? We just hit the single-day record. The single-day record for COVID. And Trump's out there doing rallies in hot spots like Phoenix, Arizona. Okay, the depression. What is Trump doing? Instead of acknowledging and admitting there's a depression and we're going to do something, we got stimulus, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. No. What does he do? He goes out there and he says, it's amazing. Consumer spending is up this last month. We reversed the trend. We were supposed to lose 9 million jobs. We lost 1 million. He's acting like we're already in a recovery when there is no recovery. The reason why the stock market is up is because it's effectively been fully socialized and totally propped up by the Fed and by trillions of dollars in bailout money. So the stock market is up, but regular people are getting decimated. There's over 20% real unemployment. And over 20 million people just lost their health insurance during a pandemic. And Greg Gutfeld is out there like, Dad, there's a big problem. The looting, the rioting, which happened for 2 nights and hasn't happened in a while. But now I'm going to talk about the looting. It's a big problem because we got to do something about this. There's real hurt out there. There's real pain. There's real hurt and real pain for people who can't pay their mortgage, for people who can't pay their rent, for people who can't pay any of their damn bills, for people who got a one-time payment of $1,200 and are now totally screwed. And the second that they lift their protections and allow foreclosures and allow evictions, they're out on their ass. People, it's a little bit of a crisis and people are feeling pain when you lose your health insurance, as 20 million more people did at least during this crisis. But none of that gets discussed. So look at the rest of his commentary there because it's really telling. He says, I have more in common with black winners than white losers. Okay, but are you saying that protesters are losers? Because that's the implication. The implication is, I have more in common with black winners than white losers, and all these white people out on the streets, they're losers. Okay, but so any protester who's out there is by definition a loser? What if you're protesting for ending the drug war and freeing nonviolent drug offenders and ending the death penalty and, police reform where you police the police law, which makes it so that whatever the worst cop is guilty of, every cop surrounding that cop is guilty of just as bad of a crime. So all the officers standing around the one who killed George Floyd, they'd all be guilty of second-degree murder, first-degree murder, whatever it is. What if you're protesting for something like that? What if you're protesting for reducing police funding at a time when education is underfunded, social safety net's underfunded, and the police are way overfunded and they're dealing with homelessness and all these issues? If you're advocating for substantive change, you're a loser? Like, I'll admit that, yes, you are a loser if you are doing the looting and you are doing the rioting and you are kind of aimless and out there. There's plenty of people who are out there who don't even know why the hell they're out there. They just want to be part of the mob fun. Yeah, I'd admit those people are losers. But I would guess that if you talk to the protesters, very large number of them would tell you why they're out there. And it would be substantive. So are they losers? Well, in his mind, yes. Because, he just disagrees with them ideologically. And then Juan Williams makes a great point. He's basically arguing that Trump is desperate right now because he's so down in the polls. And so he's doing all he knows how to do when his back's against the wall, which is, I'm going to fan the flames of the culture war. That's what he's doing. I'm going to fan the flames of the culture war, and I'm going to be divisive, and I'm going to take a side. And in his mind, he thinks, this shores up my base. But he's got a problem. The problem is he's preaching to the choir too much. And he's no longer appealing to any independents, any moderates. The coalition that he needed the last time to win, he's not appealing to them anymore. Now it's only red meat to the base and to the law and order people. And, he's basically running on like, this is really bad. I will protect the statues. But you got a problem, man. The statues are not on the top of your average American's list at a time when we have a pandemic and we have an economic depression. It's on the top of Trump's list. It's on the top of Fox News' list. It's not on the top of your normie average American's list. They care a hell of a lot more about stopping the depression and stopping the pandemic, and he's doing neither of those. They're not even going to do another round of stimulus. as they turned over the keys to the kingdom to the wealthy and the financial institutions, the corporations. And they gave you a one-time payment of $1,200 and everybody's feeling the hurt. So they're leaning into the wrong issues. And Greg Gutfeld's getting worked up. That looting is bad. Thank you, Greg. Fucking beautiful, amazing breakthrough you had there. Oh, looting is bad. Oh, I didn't know that, bro. I didn't know that. Thank you. Thank you for being so clear and a moral clarity on this show. You look ridiculous and you sound ridiculous. Rioting is bad. Looting is bad. On the list of stuff happening in this country right now, pandemic raging out of control and economic depression is above the concern about statues. Okay, and Trump is leaning into the statues thing, leaning into the law and order thing. And Juan Williams is right when he says Trump is desperate, and that's why he's being divisive. And see, his problem is not only is he focusing on the wrong stuff and leaning into the culture war and trying to tie Biden to the far left, but also his approach in dealing with this issue is also not the right approach. In times of acute national crises, the public wants a consoler in chief, a uniter in chief. Somebody that can bring everybody together and say, we're going to get through this together and we're going to work on this together. And, here's our plans moving forward. They don't want somebody who plants a flag, takes a hardcore position, is really divisive, and fans the flames of the culture war. Honestly, my guess is, in part, one of the reasons why all these protests are still continuing, honestly, is because I think Trump repeatedly fans the flames of it and gets people more engaged to get out there. I really believe that. From when he threatened the Insurrection Act, which was so beyond the pale and flat out un-American, to the point where even generals were like, we're not going to go. Are you crazy? No, we're not going to invade the United States of America as the United States military. And, this makes people go, oh, really? Okay, well then fine. I'm going to get out there even more. So they're leaning into the wrong issues. They're focused on the wrong issues. And it looks petty. It looks petty. It looks dumb. It looks fake and contrived because it is. He's not really like, oh yeah, Juan, you're downplaying looting. No, he's not. He's making the point that Trump is desperate and that's why he's doing what he's doing. That's what he's saying. And he's right. And they're so lost in their own BS and up their own asses that they don't realize how out of touch they are to the normie American. The normie average American is like, God damn it, I got to pay these bills. And God damn it, my uncle just got COVID, and how the hell are we going to, what are we going to do to fight back against this pandemic? Trump has no answers on that front. And that's why he's down.